Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.
Welcome, everybody, to the 25th episode of the Blacks in Technology audio podcast. I'm Greg Greenlee, your tech host for this evening, along with fellow techie and co-host Ronnie Hash. If this is your first time listening, I run the Blacks in Technology website. You can check us out at www.blackintechnology.net. You can also follow us on Twitter. That's Black in Technology. That's BLKINTECHNOLOGY. You can contact us at blacksintechnology.net. You can email us, tell us how you like the show, if you don't like the show, topics you may want to hear, people you think we need to talk or get on the show. And you can also check us out on LinkedIn under Blacks in Technology Group. So that's that. And tonight, very excited about our guest. Unless you've been living in exile on a remote, planet or something like that, you've probably heard of our guest tonight. Tonight on our show, we have NewMeAccelerator alumni, pencil you in, founder and CEO, CNN Black in America tech celebrity, Tiffani Ashley Bell. Thank you, Tiffani, for joining us tonight, taking time out and being on this podcast with us tonight.
Thanks for having me on, Greg.
No problem. You're welcome. So what's going on, Tiffani? How's you're from North Carolina, right?
Yes, sir. Not by birth. Actually, I'm a military brat, so my parents retired here. I'm actually from Fort Benning, Columbus, Georgia.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've been to Columbus, Georgia, like once.
What do you think?
I'm going to refrain from answering that.
Wow.
It was okay. It was really hot and the mud was really red. Let's put it like that.
That's the land of the red dirt, they call it.
Yeah. It was fun. I went down there to actually visit some people that I know, so it wasn't too bad. It's just real hot.
Yep. That was Georgia for you.
Yep. So now you're in North Carolina. So are you a Tar Heels or Duke fan? I have to ask you that.
Wow. I actually go back and forth. I don't have a team loyalty like that. Whatever game is interesting.
Really?
Yeah,
what a great politically correct answer.
Yeah, that and the fact that I don't really know the rules of basketball either, so it's like,
really?
That team is nice today. I like those colors. That's great.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Tiffani. Tell us about, your education, your background.
Okay, so I'm 26 years old. Graduated from Howard University, with a degree in computer science back in 2008. And I've been running Pencil UN on the side, off and on, since graduation in 2008. It was a side project largely, one thing that I was doing as a Ruby on Rails developer, iPhone developer, Android developer, that sort of thing. And I like to say I'm just an overall huge nerd. All things technology, I love all that sort of stuff. Try to keep up within reason. But yeah, I'm all about building, being creative, building out what I have time to, and things of that sort. So that's pretty much my story. The short version, the very short version.
So I see also that you worked for IBM. What did you do for them?
Yeah, so I spent 6 months at IBM back after my sophomore year at Howard, and that's actually where I got into mobile development. I used to work on the Palm OS development team here in RTP, North Carolina. It was an interesting internship because, again, that got me into hardcore sort of embedded programming. Palm OS back then, and not like your web OS type stuff, but literally hardcore embedded C programming. And yeah, nice. That was 6 months of, really interesting development. But that got me into mobile stuff. And it's interesting that during that co-op, that's when I actually started working on Rails.
Okay.
I was doing some stuff back on campus, just kind of helping some friends put some websites together. And a few of them had just different little ideas that they wanted to kick around. And at the time, I was working with PHP, but I didn't know SQL. And so I was trying to shortcut having to learn SQL. And Rails, sort of abstracts all that stuff from you. And I was able to put together just a couple little, toy projects with Rails without having to learn SQL. I mean, I've learned it since then, but again, that was kind of like the beginning. And so I was just kind of, sitting back at IBM one day. And I figured out then, too, that I didn't really want to do mobile development at that time, really. So I really got into web stuff, picked up Rails, and, things have been sort of going in that direction ever since.
Nice. That's a huge deal for you to intern at IBM. I mean, how much did working there kind of help your growth as a programmer?
I think it was a nice sort of kick in the pants, sort of, because the internship that I had, apparently I interviewed really well, and I got an internship that I was punching several years above what I was supposed to have been working. I was after my sophomore year. I'm pretty sure that was probably like a, senior year grad, first year out, probably internship. So what you're saying is you're a prodigy. I like to be humble about it.
That's what I'm hearing.
If you want to say that, you can say that.
We'll say that. Tiffani Ashley Bell is a prodigy, everybody.
Well, we'll get to that later. I mean, I started programming when I was 6, so I guess we'll start now.
Holy moly.
Wow.
6 years old?
I mean, it was sort of an accident. Like, my parents bought this tech pre-computer 1000 toy, and it was just it was a computer, in the sense of, like, it had a keyboard and it had a little screen on it. It was like one of these one-line monochrome LCD screens on it, stuff like that. Yeah. But otherwise, it was a full computer. It had music built in, and I got bored one afternoon with just, like, the built-in games that were a part of it, like Hangman and stuff like that. And I realized that just, like, I was always a reader. And so, like, I was just kind of flipping through the user manual. And I realized that they had, like, basic tutorials in the back about, how to make your own programs for it. And I just started, following those. And I ended up building out, a Hangman game and some other little stuff. But, I never did anything serious with it at that point because it was safe. And I really just wanted to be like a cartoonist, actually. So it was just something I happened to be able to do at that point. But fast forward a few years, I got into HTML and stuff like that. Checking out books from the local library and bringing those home and learning HTML and tinkering around with C again and stuff like that. And that was sort of late elementary school, middle school. But again, it didn't really stick because I wanted to be a cartoonist. And so I was preparing to be a comic book artist and, draw for Marvel and stuff like that. That's what I really wanted to do.
Wow, that's right up my alley because I collect comic books.
Really?
So,
nice.
so now I have to ask you questions about comics books, of course, because I do this to everybody who says, "Hey, I like art and I like comic books." So, are you a Marvel or DC fan?
Always Marvel. I mean, I wanted to draw Spider-Man. That was my thing. I just knew I was going to be the most historically brilliant Spider-Man penciler ever, but that didn't come to fruition.
Why is that? Because you can't draw, or?
Well, I mean, I stopped drawing, actually. Like, when I got to, like, my senior year in high school, like, I was in the local paper for being a political cartoonist and stuff like that. Like, I had all these little strange comics I was drawing about, like at the time, Kim Jong-il in North Korea was giving us a lot of hard times. And so I was just making these little, funny little political comics about him. But, like I said, I got to college and I was an engineer, so I didn't really have that much time to draw anymore. And I stopped drawing, basically. And occasionally I'll break out some pencils, but I'm not anywhere near as good as I used to be. So.
That's interesting.
Well, you have many talents there. You can draw, program, and what else is it that you do? That's basically the two major things you pride yourself on?
Yeah, probably at this point. So, because otherwise you just end up lacking focus. So
yeah. So you go from being an intern to you worked at HP as well?
Yeah, so I spent 2 summers at HP. Summer 2006, summer 2007, down in Houston, and that's where I really picked up all the web stuff because I'll just go ahead and say it. I was doing a lot of skipping class at Howard, and in the time I was skipping class, yes, skipping class. And at the time I was skipping class, I was learning all this web stuff. You know, I was reading TechCrunch. You know, that was always a tab open in my browser. I was really picking up all this web stuff and really, you know, just learning about all the different databases and things like that. But yeah, so what was it? HP showed up on campus one semester, and I was in a lab that was like right across from where they were doing interviews and the information session and stuff like that. And they had like free pizza. And I hadn't eaten yet, of course. And so I was just like, okay, I'll go over and get a free slice of pizza. But I felt bad that I was just coming in there and just getting pizza. So I left my resume. And I have like this nice kid complex. So like I said, I left my resume, and they ended up interviewing me and ended up hiring me as an intern.
Once you're a prodigy, though, all you have to do is go and flash a prodigy card, and that's like automatic then.
Where you get one of those at?
I don't know.
Get it right, dude. It's not a card. It's just, you know, you kind of have like an invisible stamp on your forehead. We don't carry cards.
Something that you scan that. Like a barcode.
Yeah.
So, hey, Tiffani, so I see that you are definitely a hardcore developer. And do you do your own design work as well?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I guess that's that, you know, artsy background that comes in.
So I'm looking at your
good combination.
I'm looking at your site.
Oh.
Yeah, I was talking to Blair. He's from Blossom Software, BLOSME. We had him on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he's like that as well. He does the design work as well as the background coding work too, and that's just, I mean, you know, if you're able to do that, then that's just that much, you know, better. Because
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I was going to say, I really like the layout of your site. It's really nice. And when you get a chance, you got to tell us how you came up with the name, because that's a very catchy name of your site, too.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that. We'll definitely get to that. So you worked at HP, and then you worked as a government contractor as a web developer as well. And then you began working on pencil you in full time. How did your parents feel about that? About you know, kind of quitting your job, and were they pretty supportive of that move?
I think they have realized that I'm not going back to work. So They have sort of, you know, realized that, okay, she knows what she's doing, so let's just be supportive. I mean, at first they were kind of like, what do you mean you're leaving your job? Because I talked about it for a little while. And it was one of those things where she's not serious. She's not serious. Because I was, you know, sort of doing just fine working on Pencil You In on the side, but the accelerator came along, so that was sort of like the final straw. Because I mean, at a certain point, I was sort of like sneaking out of work, using my vacation hours to be at home working on this and stuff like that. So it was kind of obvious that you know, are invested in a way that shows that you probably should just go ahead and throw everything out and work on this full time. So
you knew what direction you wanted to. Yeah, you basically, I mean, you knew deep down what direction you were going and what direction you needed to go. So, yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I was getting to the point of being deeply unhappy. So it's kind of like, okay, I felt like I was just letting Tiffani sort of like flounder just because I had a job. So I was like, this is too good of an idea to just sit on. And I told my parents that too. But they started, seeing that I was bringing on stylists and, kind of making some strides with it. So
yeah,
they got behind me and things like that.
So now we move to the NewMeAccelerator, which has gained tons of attention because of the CNN special, mostly because of the CNN special, but just because the overall program is a terrific program to start with. And I just want to say, by the way, that I think your app is like brilliant. I think it's gonna really make some waves and really do pretty well out there.
Thank you.
I think the applications for it can be, incredible. So, yeah, definitely. So now we fast forward. Now you're at NewMeAccelerator. How did you get involved with the NewMeAccelerator program?
Yeah, so it kind of goes back to a few years ago. Like when I graduated from Howard, it just so happened that I had signed up for a Twitter account back in like 2007, and I didn't really use it because I don't know what this is for, and I mostly signed up just to get my username, which is just my first name. But when I graduated,
I noticed that, and I was like, how did she get her first name? Like nobody else had that name at the time.
No, I got it in April 2007. So
wow,
Homie was wide open.
Wow. Okay.
But so I signed up for Twitter back in 2007, and I wasn't really using it. When I graduated in May of 2008, the following year, like I suddenly just figured, oh wait, I have a Twitter account. Let's see what this is about. And I got home and was just playing with that. And I think it was more out of loneliness because I was just totally, everybody else that I know pretty much stayed in D.C. after graduation. I went home to North Carolina.
Okay.
So I was just kind of, trying to get back into stuff. And I got back on Twitter, and so I found Wayne Sutton, who's up in Raleigh. He's like an hour from me, sort of. And so, at the time, he was really into social media, holding all these meetups and stuff like that. And so Wayne actually helped me put on the first tweet up here in Fayetteville back in September of 2008. But in the meantime, I just been sort of following his Twitter feed and stuff like that, and just looking at all the links he's been posting. And one of those sites that he was linking to all the time was like Black Web 2.0, which is Angela Benton's site. And so I started reading that, stuff like that. And I would reach out to them, just as camera reader and stuff like that. And one of the writers there at the time ended up doing a profile on me just as a developer. And that was back in 2008. And so kind of, been acquainted with Wayne and Angela since that point in time. So fast forward to this spring, and I think they came back from South by Southwest or something like that. They had an idea for a startup house, but it evolved into NewMe. And so they were kind of just trying to figure out who to put it together, who to have in the program. And so, they asked a few people that they knew, and I was one of the folks that they asked to be a part of it. And at the time, again, I was sort of, in the position of, man, I want to do Tiffani full time. Work isn't working out for me. What do I do? I need to do something because I need to make sure that this idea gets somewhere. But at the same time, I also like my job. I like my paycheck still. And so, but the accelerator came along, and I was like, well, yeah, I'll be a part of that. And they sent me some slides and things like that, and the rest is history. I said, yeah, I'll come to California. So I gave my job a month and a half notice for them to find another programmer, and they found one, and after that, I was gone.
On to fame and fortune.
Yeah, would you say your business?
Go ahead.
Would you say your business picked up after the whole program on CNN?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a ton of sign-ups. We have a lot of people that have, been interested and been turned on to it. So I've been trying to manage, just all the activity around it, and people sending me their resumes, and folks signing up and then calling with questions and, can you add this feature? What's on the roadmap for it and things like that. So, yeah, the show was definitely a help. And all the articles that came during the summer, that were leading up to the show, all those were just a great help. So I couldn't have asked for anything better as far as promotion, really.
Now, real quick, before we get into, the Pencil You In app and start talking about that, give us a real, brief overview of what the NewMeAccelerator is. Okay.
So the NewMeAccelerator is a great program for minorities that want to get into technology in Silicon Valley. The accelerator helps you get introductions to investors and just learn what goes into running a startup, how to refine your pitch as far as fundraising, doing things like growing your team out, getting to things like product market fit. And it ends with a demo day in which you pitch in front of a room full of investors. And, either you can raise money at some point after that, or in some cases, start conversations before. But again, it's really geared toward getting minorities into Silicon Valley and having, influence as far as putting an app together and building a business around it.
So basically, it pretty much gives black technologists kind of mentorship. Is that a good way of?
That's a really nice, clean, succinct way to say it. Yes.
Okay. Excellent.
Startup bootcamp. Definitely excellent.
Excellent. Do you have a question, Ronnie?
I was going to actually touch on Pencil You In once we got to that.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about Pencil You In. Tell us a little bit about Pencil You In, what the app is, what it's about, who will be using it.
Okay. Yeah, so Pencil You In is a solution for hairstylists, nail technicians, barbers, expanding outwards soon to massage therapists and wellness experts. It allows them to more efficiently and more professionally manage their businesses by accepting appointments online. And so, our thing is to help them run their businesses better by being more efficient, increasing revenues through different things we allow them to do. And just generally building a better business through technology. But the core thing is online appointment scheduling.
Yeah. So it's basically accessible as a web application, as a mobile application as well.
Exactly.
And
so we have the website. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You can probably better explain it to me.
No, you probably can do it more succinctly. I just blab on forever about it. But we have the website, which people typically go to and sign up at. But I just submitted a few days ago the iPhone app, which allows stylists to manage their appointment books from their phone. They can also upload photos of their work to create sort of like a digital portfolio. They can build out their entire profile for the site just through the mobile app. So, they can sign up from the mobile app, add their services, set their scheduling hours, upload photos and things like that, and then immediately, tweet out things like pictures of their work, tweet out, hey, visit, my profile page and things like that, and then add that stuff to Facebook and stuff like that if they want to. Text message their clients to say, hey, I'm using this, and things of that sort. And then from the client is, as a regular user, you can do things like, check on your own appointments that you have. You can search for stylists and barbers by looking up photos and things like that. Or you can just, go back and forth, posting things to Facebook and Twitter and things of that sort.
Is there any notification features to it?
Clients? So people get push notifications through the app, and in general, you get text message reminders, email notifications, automated phone call notifications, and things of that sort. So it's meant to be like a full sort of comprehensive suite for both stylists and their clients to sort of, keep things together, keep things orderly as far as running their businesses, accepting appointments.
Wow, that's brilliant. I think that's pretty brilliant.
Thanks.
Oh yeah, it definitely looks like a pretty good platform. Do you foresee in the future you may branch out and build this upon other different markets outside, like hairstylists?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, actually. Everybody always asks that. That's actually how we started out, a more general app. But at the time, I had problems with narrowing down features that I wanted because I was trying to appeal to doctors, dentists, lawyers, and repair people and stuff like that. And what I was building was sort of just a mess. And so I got some good advice just to slim it down and focus on one market. And so what I'm doing now is just trying to refine and perfect how everything works with stylists so that in the future, yes, when we expand to other markets, I can just go, and replicate the same sort of success based on what I learned working with stylists. So it'll just be, boom, boom, boom. This worked here, so it can work here. Tweak a little bit because this audience is slightly different. But, yeah, so we're going in that direction. But one thing at a time right now.
I think that's one of the best advice for entrepreneurs because we tend to try to do so much at once. And like you said, you focus on one or two things, get that really good, and you kind of come up with that formula and do a rinse and repeat process.
Definitely.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty, nitty-gritty of the application.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's start off with the language. What language did you develop Pencil U in?
Okay, so let's see. So what's live right now is Ruby on Rails, and that's the Ruby programming language. And then you have things like JavaScript and jQuery libraries and things of that sort for just the user interface, the front-end type stuff. You have Objective-C for the iPhone app, and then Java for the Android app, which is in the bakery right now. And that's pretty much it for all the languages.
So how do you go about any type of security-related concerns, with the applicants? Because essentially you have, a lot of different clients, so you have, data about the clients. How do you handle security within your app? Or do you even worry about it?
No, we worry about it. I mean, that's a lot of information that, phone numbers and things of that sort. We encrypt everything. So we're like, all right, keep everything safe. First, you have your usual SSL certificates and things like that. Pretty boring process. Just strong passwords, encrypt data, keep things backed up. The basic sort of security scheme. But we'll get any deeper than that. But yeah.
Okay.
Is there,
Ronnie, do you have a question?
I was going to say, is there much maintenance you have to do on a daily basis on your site? Like you said, you get a lot of feedback from different clients and customers about different changes and stuff. How do you handle that? Meaning like, okay, we're going to accept this change but not that change. Is there a process that you take, or do you, because I was reading a book from the 37 Signal guys, they say they get tons of requests all the time about their application suite, but they turn down a lot of stuff. How do you process that? Because you do definitely want to make the best app for your consumer, but sometimes doing everything can actually make it bad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was talking to somebody about that tonight, actually. And the consensus for me and the guy I was talking to was pretty much if you have something that comes up fairly often, then you probably should look at it. But if it's a one-off sort of, this is just custom for that one person, I'll probably try to, steer them into some direction where they can kind of work around the fact that feature isn't there. Generally, most things that people suggest are things that are very specific to the fact that they're hairstylists, and they know better than I do what they need as far as what they would need to really effectively use something like this leave-in. So, for example, a lot of people suggested that they wanted their clients to, prepay for appointments in the system. And so that ended up being something I heard fairly often. They just want their clients to be able to schedule an appointment, pay for that appointment online, and then just show up at the salon or the barbershop. So that came up often enough, and it accentuated the business model enough to where I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. All right, I'll build that out. And so that's a feature now. That's part of, how Tiffani would make money. Other things just like, user-friendliness and stuff like that, those generally get the nod as far as, okay, yeah, we do need more documentation. We do need, more helpful tips on getting started and things like that. But generally, like I said, I think things are more geared toward the fact that this is a stylist. She knows what she needs as far as this calendar should be this way or it should show this view versus this view. And generally, most things, like I said, I get they're not huge requests either. And so most things that I get, I can slide in some kind of way. I've never had anything that totally just was left field, really.
Gotcha. How brandable? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, so how many developers do you have on this project now, or is it just still you?
So I just built the entire thing myself.
Wow.
So yeah, that's prodigy stuff right there.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I'm talking to a developer now. I'm talking to a developer now to bring him aboard, but he's pretty much coming into a complete system. So he'll be building out a few auxiliary features. But yeah, I built the entire thing myself: the Android app, iPhone app, Rails app, all that sort of stuff.
So you said it's built on Ruby on Rails, and I'm not a developer, so I don't know much about Ruby on Rails. But from what you were saying, it abstracts the back-end database part of it. So did you have to do a lot of database work? And if so, how did you go about, or did you just said that you didn't, that you did everything yourself. So you pretty much done all the database queries and everything like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, Rails is pretty much set up where you can find a row in the database just by feeding a certain message a number, like the ID for that particular row. But you don't have to know SQL to do that. But as your application gets more complex, you might want to drop down and start doing raw SQL queries because you'll find that maybe performance isn't the best with how things are. As far as how they configure things. But yeah, generally, they've tried to structure things to be kind of efficient. And I think the most probably resource-hungry sort of thing is Ruby itself. Very memory intensive. And, but yeah, otherwise it's a great language to work in. But yeah, just going back to the database stuff, you can pretty much start with Rails right away. At this point, when I started with it, you had to either hook up, MySQL or Postgres or some other really heavy sort of database with it. Then, of course, they got adapters for things like SQLite. And now, when you install Rails, SQLite comes as the default database. So you can build something really fast, you just call it basically, because you don't have to worry about having to go install some big fat database like Postgres or MySQL because you have that SQLite that's built in right with it. I never really used that myself, but it's great just to have seen different people, slap together really fast apps just based off of that.
Gotcha.
So when you make changes and stuff, are you going through full load tests and trying to see the changes that you made that affect the amount of people that can be on the site, or do you have a gauge of how many clients you can have on your site at once? Are you looking at how to scale out, or is everything on a all-in-one server?
Yeah, well, let's see. So when I make changes, I don't really pay attention to things like, oh, you know, this query overloads the database. Because I haven't made, like, drastic changes like that. I think the mobile app actually is one thing that, you know, I did have to go back and do that. But generally for the web stuff, I don't. But the reason why with the iPhone app, for example, like, you can upload photos. And so obviously that's a lot more data to deal with than just usual, like, strings and stuff like that. And so I think I'll probably have to upgrade a server memory-wise with that. But there's a couple ways to deal with that performance issue. Like, I used to use Ruby Enterprise, which is sort of like a different flavor of Ruby that's built to be more memory efficient. So their tagline with that, by a company called Fusion, they make a product called Fusion Passenger, and that's pretty much the way people deploy bits after this point, because it's like it comes in both an Nginx server extension and an Apache server module, and it's really just a turnkey, but really nice and easy way to deploy Rails apps. But the same company that does that also makes what's called Ruby Enterprise Edition, and again, their thing is extreme efficiency. The Ruby Enterprise Edition is supposed to be 33% more efficient as far as memory usage. And I think from some tests I ran a long time ago, it actually is much better. It's a lot friendlier with the server. But I did some, I use a lot of the time libraries, obviously, and all these languages. And Ruby Enterprise Edition is like Ruby 1.8, and some of the changes I made require like Ruby 1.9, and so I don't use the Enterprise Edition anymore because they don't have Ruby Enterprise Edition 1.9 at this current moment. But yeah, that's one thing. So if you're not using sort of version-dependent features of the language, as far as what version of Ruby that you use. But then also at one point I was using Amazon and the Amazon Web Services, and I was using S3 to store images, Amazon EC2, so that was good for scaling out if I needed to, fire up another server. But it was also just a nice place for me to have like a test server.
Yeah.
And so I could, just fire up the instance and just, set up a complete staging environment and just test everything on there, and when I was finished, just shut it down. And so that's sort of, some of the different stuff that I was doing with that. But those are, just different ways that I've kind of looked at scaling at this point.
So are you saying, are you using virtual servers right now, or are you using physical servers for hosting the app? Or can you say?
I think we just use Linode. It's just hosted on Linode, a box of Linode.
I'm sorry, you do what again? You were kind of breaking up.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we just use Linode, which is just a regular web host.
Okay.
Okay.
And we just,
they do like a VPS type of solution.
What did you say again?
I think Linode is a VPS type of solution, so I think it's more of I think they do a shared virtual server type of platform, maybe.
Yep.
Linode.
And I think you can just change how much disk space you get, and of course how much memory you get. But they're really, I like them a lot. Really nice.
So, what do you use any specific tools for load testing?
Not really. Just the usual things like HTTP turf. There's one other one. Forget. ones, but yeah. I just kind of, like, I look at, I use things like New Relic, and that's just for keeping tabs on what's inefficient queries and what happens when you get, certain loads here, there, and everywhere. Started using Nagios for server monitoring and stuff like that.
We love Nagios.
Ha!
Yes.
That's nice.
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really got into that.
What's
What
that?
did you say?
No, I was saying I actually went to the Nagios World Conference up in Minnesota and met the founder and creator of Nagios.
Really? How was that?
It's pretty cool. It was interesting. a lot of presentations on how people, put together or architect distributed Nagios monitoring solutions, and how they use it for monitoring anything from temperature and humidity to I think one guy said he actually was monitoring, or they heard of an instance where people were actually monitoring like cruise missiles with it.
Wow.
Yeah, so
I believe it. I think I heard that Facebook was using that actually. So it's everywhere.
That's a great.
But that's
that's a great tool.
I want to get to that point though. Like temperature monitoring. That's cool.
Yeah.
Pun intended,
we use that.
Anyway.
I'm sorry. I missed that. What did you say?
I said, I want to get into, using it to monitor temperature monitoring. That would be cool.
Wow.
Pun intended. Bad services.
We actually use Nagios on a daily. We both work we're systems engineers for a data center here in Cincinnati, Ohio. So we use it quite frequently.
Nice. Now, why did you choose that over a different? You can probably cut this part out, but why did you choose that over?
Oh no, all this goes on.
Okay, all right.
All this is included. No, actually, when I got to the Ronnie actually joined our team back in February, but when I got there, they already had Nagios pretty much set up, and I think the reasoning behind using it was A, it's very flexible, and B, it's very cheap.
Right.
It's free. So when you're a small company, our company is relatively small. So when you're a small company, of course, you're trying to watch cost at every corner. So it just made sense. I mean, it's a great solution. It does what we need it to do, and we don't have customers saying, or asking for things that can't be done with Nagios.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, cool. In the past, I've used several enterprise monitoring solutions like BMC Patrol and HP OpenView. And on the open source side, I've used Xenos and also Nagios. And I've just found Nagios the most easiest to work with and most flexible to work with. Like I can crank out a check in Perl within a matter of minutes or hours to do a custom check on something. And I've been working with our facility guys quite a bit on some of their different devices that they want monitored, but also on the website. That's what I was going to throw out to you. If you have any questions, just hit me up about any type of web checks you want. Like I can do custom web checks to automatically log in to your site and push a button and scrape for data to verify you getting your database connections and all that. So definitely keep that in the back of your mind as you continue to grow and you want to do more checks and alert you if something wrong. Just let Greg or myself know, and we can definitely help you with that.
Okay, I'll definitely do that. Because, I mean, the thing that I'm going toward next is just, automating as much as possible. Because I figure, okay, I'm going to be probably a small team for the moment. Me and maybe this other guy I'm talking to about hiring. But for the moment, it's just me. So if I can automate a bunch of things, That'll be awesome. So I'm getting into that. That's why I was talking to Greg the other night about just having picked up shell scripting and stuff like that. I mean, like Rails, for example, has all this stuff around this tool called Capistrano, and it lets you pretty much do like a push-button deploy. So all I have to do is just commit things to Git, and from that, tell the deploy scripts where everything is and where everything should go as far as plugins and stuff like that, and then go to Capistrano, tell it to deploy it, put in my password twice, and there goes everything on the server. And then just make sure, the server gets restarted and stuff like that. But I wanted to have, like, my entire company run like that, to the point where, it's efficient, where email newsletters go out on a schedule that's been preset months in advance. Just all kinds of stuff, thanks to the power of the setting of changing some content here and there, and then it all gets pushed out according to what I would call, a robotic staff, basically. So
yeah, I mean, that's what they call it, the startup lean, right? Being able, and we're living in a time now where you can easily automate all this stuff with the virtualization, and you got tools like Puppet and Chef or cfengine to automate your server builds, and you have all your deployment tools.
Doesn't Puppet do that as well?
What's that?
Doesn't Puppet do deployments, like automatic deployments as well?
Yeah, it does deployments, but what I've used it mostly for was configuration of the servers. But you can definitely have it do just about anything. So you can have it do deployments of an application to a specific directory, or you can have it back up the system files before you deploy the new files to the system.
Nice.
So,
I think at one point, when I was still at my old job, I was looking at Chef and Puppet. But I didn't really know what I was looking at the time. So, like, can you explain a little bit, what's going on with those?
For the most part, I definitely used it from the sysadmin, engineer side of things. So pretty much when I wanted to bust out a server, I would have it automatically maybe add specific users to a system, or add different packages, precompiled packages to a server, and verify that server had those packages. So anything that I had to do after loading the system, it was automated through Puppet or Chef.
Okay, that's awesome. There was no scripting really on your part and stuff like that, man.
Yeah, definitely they both have their own scripting language, their own little language that you use on how to define different rules within Puppet and Chef. I use all three, Puppet, Chef, and cfengine, and I found Puppet right now. I will go with Puppet or Chef. cfengine, not so much anymore. Puppet or Chef is definitely the route I would take. And being a Ruby person, you should easily be able to pick up Puppet.
Yeah, I mean, I remember looking at it, but I was just like, oh, that's one more thing to learn. I'll leave that alone for now.
So a lot of their stuff is written in Ruby, so, and I was more of a Perl guy. I'm like, oh boy. But actually, it was actually pretty easy to pick up and run with. Like I said, I had to do some simple things that I didn't want to have to do after I built a server.
Exactly. Well, that's nice. That's nice. Because, I mean, that's the one thing that I used to worry about. Like, okay, well, if you have the need to spin up something really, really fast as far as the server goes, yeah, you have all this stuff documented in a wiki, but, that's still you typing out stuff. So it's not exactly efficient. And, if something happens to those directions, then boom.
Well, whenever you get to that point and you want to see how you can scale out in a cloud environment, having been able to automate spinning up multiple servers and getting your app quickly deployed to that server and talking to the cluster, definitely, again, let Greg or myself know, and we definitely can help you out with that. We both have, both have experience with that. My last gig, the main apps and stuff I supported was Java Enterprise apps and PHP apps in clustered environments. So.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. See, that's the stuff that I would never get deep hardcore into. I mean, it probably is interesting. I'm not saying it's boring. It's just like it's because to me it's like, okay, well, how do I know I have the best configuration here? You know, how do I know I'm not missing one small detail that could, you know, squeeze out a little bit more performance without having to do A, B, C, or D. Like it's so much to me. I'm not really a hardware person either. And so it's like I don't know any of that sort of stuff. So it's always nice to talk to folks that can do all that sort of stuff. Like I have a friend that works at NetApp, for example, and like he's always talking about like, you know, raid this, raid that. I'm like, I don't know what any of this stuff means. I hope I never have to use it one day because I know who I'll be calling.
That's funny because we actually, our company, we're in negotiations with NetApp to purchase some hardware from those guys.
Nice.
You say your friend works. You say your friend works for NetApp?
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, if you definitely have any questions about that, definitely hit us up and you can bounce some ideas off of us. And I mean, I've been knee-deep into how to design scaled-out infrastructures and test the performance of, especially in a virtual environment, because, like, what I used to like how I like to explain it is when developers had access to a full physical machine, nowadays they really didn't think too much about cleaning up memory or utilizing the processor and everything correctly, because they had so much power. But now we're going to the virtualization, and when you dedicate one or two CPUs to a virtual machine, it's not a true two CPUs. It's like two cores of a CPU, and a core of a CPU doesn't really equal a full cycle of a processor. So now we're forcing developers to go back to cleaning up your code, making sure that you closing stuff out and not keeping stuff in memory. You know, now you have to be a little bit more efficient. And so
see, my generation of developers is not used to that though, because if you talk about people going to school, for example, for computer science, they teach you Java, and somebody talked about it. I think it was like, who is it? Forget the guy's name. It'll come back to me in a second. But, like, he talked about just, like, the perils of Java school. And computer science departments just teach Java and not C, because kids come out not knowing, like, raw usage of, like, the CPU and, you know, being efficient about memory use and stuff like that. Because if you use Java or any other language that, you know, does, like, garbage collection and stuff like that for you, or memory management for you, then you get away from that sort of stuff, and it makes you feel like, okay, it's kind of like a debit card. People just hand you, okay, there's an infinite amount of money on this thing. Just go shopping.
Yeah.
You have no sort of budget really, and yeah, that's one thing that I know. Getting back into iPhone development, I had to be really aware of all that. Like, okay, clean up this memory because you know this is a memory constrained device in the first place. So
yeah.
Yep, that is true.
Virtualization is forcing people. Now, go ahead, Ron.
I agree. I was going to say, mobile development.
Hey, we're running into a problem. Now, go ahead, Ronnie. Sorry.
No, I was saying we were going to say.
Go, Ronnie.
Yeah, go, Ronnie.
Now, I was just going to mention about mobile development. You're right about that because it's limited memory, and I don't know how many apps I've downloaded on my phone, and it locked my phone up because over a period of time, it just ate up the memory, even though you think you closed that app out, and it's still running.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can still have stuff running in the background, and I don't know. I think Apple tries to be somewhat stringent about it, but there's plenty of apps on my phone that crash and everything else, and so it's like they weren't that stringent, and people still, can't code the proper use of pointers and whatever else. I mean, it's an interesting sort of hairy thing to get into, but I think it's worth perfecting at least. I know when I was putting the iPhone app together, I tried to, be cognizant of memory usage and cleaning stuff up, and actually, like, when you're putting together an iPhone app, you actually have tools that they give you to check your app for things like memory leaks and stuff like that. So it's just a matter of learning how to use those. They have this thing called instruments that's part of the whole Xcode development suite, and it lets you check for, like, how much memory are you allocating in this part of your app, where your memory leaks and stuff like that at. So they give you the tools. It's just a matter of using them.
Nice.
But
so what's
oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish out what you were saying.
Yeah, but I was just saying that even having tools, though, you still have to know the basic memory management stuff. So the tools will show you where everything is messed up at, but you still have to know how to fix those, or in the best cases, prevent leaks and stuff like that. So.
Now I know you graduated in 2008, and I wonder if professors or teachers are changing the curriculum just a tad bit, or if even textbooks are changing a bit to account for virtualization. Now that you don't have these servers where you have excess compute resources and memory resources, I wonder if they're changing their teaching a little bit to accommodate for virtualization. You pretty much have limited memory now. You have limited CPU resources. You guys need to learn how to code for this.
I think they're going in that direction anyway. I think they were already in that sort of mode, but
okay.
It's just having virtualization around is one thing further for why you should learn about, like low-level memory management and stuff like that. But I think, they were always talking about, like, learn how to efficiently use pointers, don't create memory leaks and stuff like that. It's just a matter of we have one more use case now for why this is actually still very important. So.
Gotcha. What's next for Pencil You In? What's on the radar?
Well, it's on top to this developer.
I'm sorry, you were breaking up a little bit.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm a developer now to have him come aboard and write some code to just sort of expand out our mobile vision for the site. What else? We'll go back to the Valley in the spring and really just expanding the site. Kind of have international ambitions with it. So looking at how to localize it for different languages, Spanish, French, Japanese, and stuff like that. So according to like the biggest markets for at this current moment, hair salons and things like that. So forming some improvements.
Hold on, you're breaking up really bad. I didn't hear anything that you just said.
Okay, hold on, right?
All right.
More like a hill.
Those hills.
Yeah, that's North Carolina for you. That's in the middle of nowhere out there.
Exactly.
I thought North Carolina was flat.
Not the part I live in. The region I live in is actually called like the Sand Hills. So, right. Can you hear me now?
I'm in a Salem.
Yeah. So you're moving. You're going back to the Valley. You're you say something. You're doing making the app more international. Adding languages.
Yep. So we're looking at going back to the Valley, localizing the app, just according to like all the different markets where hairstylists and other industries we're looking at are prevalent. And of course, really expanded our mobile reach. Because again, just looking at our audiences, like all this stuff just makes sense. And those are a few things.
Okay.
Would you say right now you're getting a pretty good feedback? Well, not feedback, but pretty good sign-ups from just the United States, period, like the different states, like Chicago, or cities, I should say, Chicago, Atlanta, then out in L.A. and all that. Are you getting pretty good sign-ups everywhere, or are you seeing more sign-ups in one location?
I think we have a nice sort of distribution of people kind of all over, with a few hints of concentration. Like, I went to a hair show in Atlanta back in February to set up a booth there. So I'm still seeing some residual activity from the people I talked to there. But yeah, I mean, like, signed up a lot of people just on the mailing list, for example, and a lot of people come to it from that. Also the show and stuff like that. So people are kind of like spread out. So I'm not seeing like a mass in one place only just yet.
Are you getting more? Are you getting more hairstylists?
Oh, go ahead.
Are you getting more hairstylists or more barbers coming to the site?
Definitely more hairstylists. I mean, that's actually sort of a fault of mine because, like, the site, like, internally right now, I've redesigned a lot of it, or most of it, but the front page is still very pink. And different barbers I talked to in San Francisco during the summer, for example, they wanted a less gender-specific looking site. So I still have to work on that part.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was like, when you go to the site, it's like pink. You probably won't get good feedback from barbers. Like, it's pink, and I see hairdressing machines. But, I mean, again, I think it's a good app for them because I'm sitting here thinking about the amount of people I can send this app to already that I know of that will probably jump on board.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, so that. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask real quick if it's brandable. Like, do you allow your clients to be able to brand the application?
Not yet. Just as far as like logos and stuff like that. But that's actually a request I've been getting. So I've been trying to figure out like how to do that without like just totally breaking the interface some kind of way. Because some people want it like in the the title bar, and other places they want it like custom background colors and stuff like that. Like actually, the old design that I took down probably like a couple of weeks ago, it allowed people to like change the color of the title bar. You had people that put like purple, orange, whatever. But I took that off just for this person. I'll add it back, but trying to look at how to add a little bit more customization for people.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've always noticed that with a lot of vendors that we work with that have like a service that we use and that's kind of multi-tenant, so to speak. A lot of the times, and even services that we offer, we allow some level of branding, customization for the clients as well. I mean, they a lot of them tend to kind of ask for that type of thing just because they don't, they want, I guess, the perception that this is something that they came up with, and it's a tool, that they offer, and so.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just a basic, idea of like ownership, humans and ownership.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so just like you get a Twitter profile and change the colors of the links and stuff like that, we're getting into that direction.
Gotcha.
And I can see a couple of easy ways you can probably implement that fairly easy, too. Because it won't take much coding because you have that base and a framework there, you know, and just being able to have each person see a different front end would be kind of easy,
definitely.
Especially if you did, like, subdomains, you know, like hairstylist.pencilune.in.
Definitely. Everybody gets their own subdomain, actually.
Oh, so you halfway there. So once you do that, I mean, you have your virtual host files set up. You can easily have them direct to serve up the different front end, but then everything talks to the back end. So that will be, like I said, fairly easy to do. Nice.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We got a long list go ahead. We got a long list of upcoming features, and that's probably on there somewhere.
I'm really impressed with the site, and I mean you've done all this by yourself, the website, the mobile app on iPhone, and the Droid. So I mean you definitely been busy. What type of feedback did you get from the investors out in the Valley? What did they say about your app?
Well, let's see. Some people thought I was entirely too early stage. Some people didn't get why this was necessary, and I think that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, like some people, it's interesting to talk to this. Yeah, I know. No, it's interesting to get different feedback.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying what's amazing to me is, I mean, these guys are getting paid the big. To me, it's a no-brainer. It's like if someone was to say to me, or if you were to present this app, you know, if you were to pitch this app to me, I would be like, oh, definitely, because this is something that not only can be utilized in barbershops, hair salons, massage parlors, but there's a whole bunch of applications that this can be used for. I mean, not just, you know, those areas, but I can see this working across a whole, you know, plethora of different types of businesses. And I don't know why he or she would say they don't understand why this would would be needed. To me, it seems like a no-brainer. When I first heard of it, which was some months ago, and I was just like, that's brilliant. That's like, every hairstylist, every barber should want this app. I mean, that's what I thought, and I don't know. No, I'm not in the Valley, so he's getting paid for some reason. But to me, it seems just like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean,
you had me at the.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say you had me at the name pencilu.in. I love the name because it really hits home on what people are trying to do when they're trying to do their own business, especially hairstylists and barbers, auto mechanics, and all that. They don't really have any real good system to organize their stuff. I don't know how many times I've been to my barber or been to an auto mechanic shop, and they all disorganized. So it's definitely needed, and for the investors not to see that, they're blind. But I'm glad that has not stopped you from continuing on with your business, because I've seen so many successful people continue on and be successful, and venture capitalists like, man, I wish I would have invested in that. Because I know if I had $1 million today, it would definitely, some of that money would be in your pocket. I would be like, give me 20% run with it. Here's $1 million.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting you say that. It's funny that everybody gets to accept the investors. I mean, they want to see more users. They want to see, me expand into other markets and things like that. But again, you have to start somewhere. You have to start small. You have to start somewhere. And so this is how I'm starting. If they're not aboard, then I think of it as, that's you guys' loss, basically.
Yeah, my mechanic still uses a pencil and piece of paper. He writes it. He actually writes it on a calendar that sits on the front desk. That's it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Is he part of a chain or just like his own shop?
No, this is just his own shop. But I mean, to me, those are actually the ones that would most utilize it. You know, the people that don't have, you know, it's not backed by a major chain or something like that. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I've seen hairstylists like that. Like somebody I signed up way back in the spring. Like she had, you know, just her appointment book everywhere and wet and just, you know, just a mess basically. She's still trying to put, you know, time in it, and it was just trifling almost. It's like you're using that to manage your appointments. Let me help you. So. Now,
what I do like about your site, what you mentioned earlier too, is that you say that you can require payment ahead of time, because that makes people stick to that schedule instead of scheduling an appointment last minute, cancel. Because you know, like how you go to the doctor's office now, if you don't cancel within a certain amount of time, you're still going to get charged $15 or $20, right? Now, with your app, are you doing similar to the same thing, or are they asking for a full payment, or are they just going to get maybe a percentage of a payment, and if they cancel within 24 hours, they get reimbursed, but if they don't cancel within 24 hours, it's like within the last hour, they're going to still get charged a certain amount? How does that process work? Because I think that really matters to not only the hairstylist, but the client as well.
Yeah, definitely. So stylists can choose whether or not they want to, you know, just require a deposit, whatever amount they set for that particular service. And so if they have like a pay plan, for example, then that allows them to accept deposits. And they can say, you know, well, I'll add a wash and a dry as a service. And then they can say, as part of that service, I'll require a deposit, or this person can just pay for the entire thing if they want. Now, as far as what happens as far as refunds and stuff like that, that's kind of up for them to handle. We have it kind of wired up where, you know, the money is pushed through Pencil You In, but not in the sense like we handle it or anything like that. And so if they want like a refund or something like that, they'll have to talk to the hairstylist about that.
Gotcha. So in the future, this can easily turn into some sort of billing app for the hairstylists and stuff.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, people, again, like as far as feature requests, different folks have all kinds of ideas that, since I'm not a hairstylist, and I will happily pay one, because I just, you know, I'll happily pay one, put it that way. They know so much more about, you know, what they do versus what I know about what they do. They'll come up with all kinds of ideas that, again, end up being like, you know, that is a good idea. Let's see if we can put that as part of our business model. And, you know, this prepayment stuff, like I just had deposits, but I had different stylists that told me about how they offer packages, you know, different clients. Like I had a barber in San Francisco where he has like, he's a high-end barber, and so he has where he wants packages. So in real life, what he does is charges like $150 every month for, what is it, like 3 or 4 haircuts are a part of the package. And he wants to be able to do that sort of thing online. And so that's one thing we're rolling out later is gift certificates and, you know, packages and stuff like that that stylists can build out. But again, this is all stuff that's coming from stylists as far as what they are experiencing in real life, as far as things they need. And they don't end up being just ridiculous feature requests. They end up being actual stuff that makes the product better altogether.
Nice. I got a couple more questions before we get out of here. What would you say was, I guess, one of the biggest business lessons that you learned throughout this experience? And tech-wise, what's one of the biggest obstacles you had to overcome, and how did you overcome it?
So let's see, business lessons. I think in pitching, like, know your audience. And it's an obvious thing. I've done, like, speech and debate all my life. But when it comes to, like, business, know that, okay, a customer wants to hear, like, why should I use your app as far as, like, is this going to make me more money? If I'm paying you X amount of dollars a month, how does this return that money plus more? You know, like, customers love hearing that sort of thing. Whereas originally when I first started, since I was a programmer, I wanted to talk about just, like, features all the time and, you know, hey, look, this links when you click it and stuff like that. And it was just stuff that they really didn't understand. When I started, when I started talking about, like, you know, hey, when you sign up for this, you can do this. Well, you know, the clients will be more organized, you know, a more efficient shop. Then they got it. They didn't care about the fact that, you know, hey, it works in this browser, and, you know, if you click this, then this happens. If you do this, this happens. They don't really care about that because most customers of mine are not tech savvy. So they couldn't give a rat's, you know what about jQuery or, like I said, it was quite bad. So just figuring out how to
for them.
Right. You know, I mean, I had some people that were kind of interested, you know, but not in the full on, like, show me you source, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then as far as, I mean, but that just goes back to learning how to sell, basically. And that's something that I still, you know, work on all the time. Coming from being a technical person where, again, to me, the most interesting thing is what server we're running. The fact that I get just a little bit, you know, performance out of using this jQuery library, you know, this jQuery version versus this jQuery version or whatever. But then just coming back up and realizing, like I said, that nobody cares about that. They care about what does this product do for me, and will it continue to do that, and then why versus somebody else's app should I use yours and things like that. So I had to learn to really think in terms of business. And so the tech is cool, but keep that stuff at home, basically. And then, but then as far as, like, technical lessons, what could I say? I think. I mean,
I know it's not a lot because you're a prodigy.
No, actually, it is a lot because I look at it like this. Like, okay, since I love programming, I had to sort of get to the point where, okay, prioritize. Since it's just you programming for now, you can't go and, like, do this, you know, overly complicated implementation of some feature. Now, maybe this is more of a business lesson, but I think it's more of a tech lesson, too, because since, in some respects, a lot of it's sort of easy to build, I can get to this point sometimes where I just kept building things and adding features that I didn't have any sort of idea whether or not that was really necessary, especially, like, when I first started working on it. There was a lot of stuff there that actually isn't there now. Like, you can look at the weather through the app, for example, and it was kind of like, okay, that's nice that you were able to find a weather API to plug in. But think about what that's doing as far as your customers. Like, if I'm showing you that it's going to rain on Thursday, you can guarantee that people's systems will be down for Thursday. And that's going to affect usership and, you know, that could affect, you know, are people, you know, scheduling appointments? Are you getting your fees from people scheduling appointments and things like that? Because you told them basically not to schedule on that day. So you could be, you know, suppose it rains all month long and you're just showing rain all throughout the app all month long. And so I had to sort of temper, okay, that's nice to build. It's a nice little widget, but take that off. Because, you know, it's nice tech, but it's affecting the business side of things. So
Gotcha.
I think I had to learn to sort of tame the programming stuff.
Gotcha.
But again, that comes from just, you know, hearing feedback and getting more into the business side of things versus just looking at it as a sort of programming project with nothing else to it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, if I was a VC, I would be all over this, Tiffani. And I would be like, throwing money at you, telling you, and also throwing out some ideas. Because I'm sitting there thinking, like, wow, I would do this and do that. Like, even with the mobile app piece, I'd be like, for the hairstylist, I will have their next appointment pop up on their phone if they chose to want to have it pop up, and be able to tell the next appointment if they're running 10 minutes or 15 minutes behind or 30 minutes behind, because I know how I hear my mom and sister always telling me, I hate going to my hairstylist, and I get there and they're never ready for me, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
definitely.
just being able to automatically alert your next appointment that you're running a little bit behind so you can do something else. I mean, there's so many different ways you can go with this, but it's a awesome platform that's in transition into many different fields outside of hairstylists. So I definitely see a lot of success here, and just keep at it.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good idea. Good idea. Because that's happened to everybody that's ever been to a barbershop or a salon. You try to be on time, but, you know, it doesn't work out. So.
Great. So on a scale of 1 to 10, rating this interview tech-wise, what would you rate it?
What do you mean?
Tech rating of all the interviews that you had, what would you rate this as far as technology related? Talking pure tech.
Probably a 9, because you guys got into the server. I mean, I generally don't talk about this sort of thing most of the time with people because they don't know that much. But the chef conversation with puppets and stuff like that, I actually learned some stuff. So hey.
Hey, we kind of schooled the prodigy a little bit.
Basically, I'm like, all right, let me ask these questions.
Until next time we talk to her again, and she's like, do you know this about chef? Do you know this about Mike?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I got to go.
Oh, man.
Well, thanks for taking time out tonight and joining us on this podcast. It was great talking to you. Great hearing about Pencil UN. Great hearing about your background. And I always invite guests on the show to sign up to Blacks in Technology, because what we did tonight, talk about tech, is what we do on the site, and that's what the site is for. It's a meeting place, a community for the black technologists, for the coders, for the systems engineers, for the IT directors, people like that want to go to a place and they want to talk tech, and it's not all about, what I like to call consumer tech. It's real tech. So membership is free. We don't ask for fees or anything like that. It's just a nice open platform, with the built-in forum, social networking part of it, just to go and, post questions about. We've got developers on there all the time talking about, Java, Ruby, Perl, everything. And so I'd just like to, send that invitation to you to come and be a part of the community.
Okay, definitely. I had a great time talking to y'all. Really did.
Excellent. And before you go ahead. No. I was going to say, before you, you kind of blanked out there.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. I was going to say, before you leave, go ahead and give out, any contact information, any URLs, your Twitter handle, so that people can, if they need to contact you or want to contact you and check out the site, give them that information. Okay.
Yeah, so if you want to find out more about Pencil UN, you can visit us at http://www.pencilu, that's YOU.in, or we actually do have pencilun.com, if you want to remember that one. We're on Twitter at just Pencil UN, that's Pencil YOUIN, or you can find me on Twitter, TIFFANI, Tiffani. And that's pretty much it.
Excellent. Well, good luck on your endeavors. I'm pretty sure you do excellent. I think it's, like I said before, I think it's a great app. It's a no-brainer, and I think it's gonna see much success. And just remember the little guys. We're
Thank
the little
you for giving me
guys,
the
by the
time of
way.
day.
Oh, no problem, no
All right.
problem. I mean, we do these podcasts quite a bit. Like I said, this is number 25. We've only been doing them for maybe less than a year. And,
nice.
We've got more lined up. And so, if this thing start moving along for you, then, we'll definitely want to invite you back, and you can, talk to us more about it, tell us what new features you've implemented and new things that you learned, and, update the audience on what Pencil You In is going. So.
Okay. Yeah, awesome.
Excellent.
Awesome. I had a good time.
Excellent. So did we.
Yep.
Excellent. I learned a lot. I got two true data center people, Ronnie and Greg. Nice.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, okay. So take care, Tiffani, and we'll keep in touch.
All right. Thank you.
All right. No problem.
All right. See you, Greg. Okay.
Blacks in technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.